My boss fired me in front of everyone. What I said next ended his career. The room was too quiet, not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful, the kind that feels like something is about to break. 30 people sat around the conference table, laptops open, eyes shifting between me and the man at the head of the room. My boss, Daniel Reeves. He didn't look angry. That would have been easier. Anger is emotional, unpredictable. This was calm, calculated, controlled, the kind of calm that comes right before someone decides to ruin you. He folded his hands on the table and looked directly at me. "Claire," he said, voice smooth, almost polite. "I think it's best if we address this now." My name sounded different coming from him, detached, like he had already decided I didn't belong in the room anymore. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the air felt like it was waiting. I sat there, back straight, hands resting lightly on my notebook. I had learned a long time ago, if you don't move, people can't read you. And if they can't read you, they can't control you. "What exactly are we addressing?" I asked. My voice didn't shake. That surprised him. I could see it in the slight pause before he answered. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly like a man about to deliver something important. "Your performance," he said. A few heads lowered immediately. Avoidance. People preparing to pretend they weren't here. "Classic," he continued. "There have been inconsistencies." He let the word sit there. Inconsistencies in reporting, in communication, in accountability. Each word was chosen carefully, neutral enough to sound professional, vague enough to mean anything he wanted. I didn't interrupt. I didn't defend myself, because I already knew what this was. This wasn't about performance. This was about control, and I had stopped being easy to control 3 weeks ago. That was when I refused to approve a set of numbers. Numbers that didn't match reality. Numbers that would make the quarterly report look stronger than it actually was. Numbers that, if released, would mislead investors. At the time, he had smiled at me. The same calm smile he was wearing now. "Just clean it up," he had said. I didn't. And ever since then, this moment had been coming. Daniel steepled his fingers. "Several team members have expressed concern," he added. That was new. I almost smiled. Anonymous pressure. The safest kind of lie? Because it can't be verified. I let a second pass, then another. Silence is uncomfortable. People rush to fill it. But I didn't. Finally, I said, "Which team members?" A flicker. There it was. Small, but real. He didn't expect that. He expected defense, apology, emotion, not precision. That's not relevant. Of course it wasn't, because it wasn't real. I nodded slightly, as if accepting that. "I see." Around the table, tension tightened. People could feel it now. This wasn't going the way they thought it would. Daniel leaned forward again, regaining momentum. "We've also reviewed your recent submissions," he continued. "There are discrepancies that suggest negligence." Negligence. A heavier word, more dangerous. He was escalating. Good. That meant he needed this. "You're saying I made mistakes?" I asked. "I'm saying," he replied, voice sharpening just a fraction, "that your work is no longer aligned with the standards of this company." There it was. The setup. The line that makes everything else feel justified. The line that prepares the room for what comes next. Termination. Public. Clean. Controlled. He looked around the table briefly, making sure he had an audience. Then back at me. So effective, immediately. "Which report?" I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't interrupt loudly, but I cut directly through his sentence. The room froze. Daniel blinked. Just once. "What?" he said. "Which report?" I repeated calmly. "You said there were discrepancies. Which one are you referring to?" Silence stretched. Now everyone was watching, not pretending anymore. Watching. Daniel's jaw tightened. "This isn't the time to get into specifics," he said. Of course it wasn't. Because specifics are where lies break. I tilted my head slightly. Then when is the time? A shift. Subtle. But the balance in the room had moved. He could feel it. People could feel it. Control is fragile. Once it cracks, it spreads. Daniel sat back, exhaling through his nose. I don't think you understand the situation, he said. I met his gaze. I understand it perfectly. And I did. He thought this was about removing a problem. He thought if he said it confidently enough, publicly enough, no one would question it. He thought I would fold, because most people do, especially in rooms like this, especially when their job is on the line. But I had spent the last 3 weeks preparing for this exact moment, not emotionally. Strategically, you're firing me, I said. No reaction, just clarity. And you're doing it in front of the team to establish a narrative. Now people shifted in their seats. That word, narrative, it changed everything. Because it implied intention. Daniel's voice cooled. This is about performance, Claire. No, I said quietly. It's about compliance. That landed, not loudly, but deeply. His eyes narrowed. You refused to approve the Q3 adjustments, I continued. The ones that increase projected revenue by 12% without corresponding data. No one moved. No one breathed. Because now this was specific. Daniel smiled again, but this time, it didn't reach his eyes. You're mischaracterizing internal forecasting methods, he said. I nodded slowly. Then let's characterize them correctly. I reached into my bag, and that was the moment everything shifted. Because I didn't hesitate. I didn't fumble. I didn't look uncertain. I pulled out a thin folder and placed it on the table. Deliberately, quietly. The sound it made against the wood felt louder than it should have. What is that? Someone whispered at the far end. I ignored it. Daniel didn't. His gaze locked onto the folder. Sharp, focused, dangerous. It's documentation, I said. Of every revision request made to the Q3 report. I opened it, turned it toward him, and every version I declined to sign. His hand didn't move, but his posture changed. Barely. Enough. The room leaned in. People couldn't help it. Truth has gravity, even when people are afraid of it. Daniel let out a small breath. You're overreacting, he said. Soft, measured. But now there was something underneath. Not confidence. Concern. I don't think I am, I replied. I slid a second document forward. This one shows the internal emails, I said. Specifically the ones where I asked for clarification on the adjustments. A pause, and the ones where you told me to stop overthinking and just finalize it. No one looked away now, not even him. He stared at the paper, then at me, trying to calculate, trying to recover. This is confidential company information, he said. Yes, I said. It is. Silence. Then I added, and it's already been reviewed. That was the moment, the exact moment, when control left his hands completely. Reviewed? He repeated. I held his gaze. By compliance. A ripple went through the room, not loud, but unmistakable, because everyone knew what that meant. Compliance doesn't get involved in misunderstandings, only in risks, legal risks, regulatory risks, career-ending risks. Daniel's face didn't collapse. Men like him don't collapse in public. They harden. His voice dropped. You went behind my back? No, I said calmly. I followed protocol. That hurt him more, because it reframed everything. Not betrayal. Procedure. Not rebellion. Responsibility. You're making a mistake, he said. Maybe he believed that. Maybe he needed to. I already made one, I replied. A small pause. 3 weeks ago, when I thought you'd correct it yourself. That landed harder than anything before, because it wasn't accusation. It was disappointment. And disappointment is harder to fight than anger. The room was completely still now. No shifting, no typing, no pretending, just watching. Daniel looked around briefly, and for the first time, he realized something. The audience he thought he controlled was no longer his. He turned back to me. "What exactly are you trying to do?" he asked. There it was, the question behind everything. I didn't answer immediately, because timing matters. Then I said, "I'm trying to do my job," and I meant it. That was the truth he couldn't work around. Because if I was right, then everything he had done became something else. Something far more serious than a performance issue. Something that couldn't be dismissed in a meeting. Something that couldn't be controlled with tone and authority. Something that lived outside this room. Daniel leaned back slowly. His confidence didn't disappear. It shifted from dominance to defense. "That's a serious allegation," he said. "Yes," I agreed. "It is." And where a wand. Silence. Then the door opened. No one had expected that. Not even me. But I didn't react. Because I didn't need to. Two people stepped in. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Just certain. The kind of certainty that doesn't ask permission. Every head turned. Daniel didn't. Not at first. Then he did. And when he saw who it was, everything changed. Not visibly. Not to most people. But I saw it. Because I had been watching him closely from the beginning, the smallest shift in his eyes, recognition, followed by something else. Something he hadn't shown all morning. Uncertainty. "Sorry to interrupt," one of them said. Voice calm. "Professional. We'll need a moment." Daniel stood halfway. "This is a private meeting," he said. The man nodded. "Yes," he replied. "We're aware." A pause. Then, "We're from compliance." The room didn't explode. It didn't react loudly. It simply stopped. The way everything stops when reality arrives. Daniel didn't speak. Not immediately. Because for the first time, he didn't know what to say. And I sat there, exactly as I had from the beginning. Still, calm, unmoving. Because I had never been trying to win the room. I had only been waiting for the truth to enter it. And now, it had.